welcome back to another edition of After the Mass. Thank you for joining us here at St. Anthony's here in Fargo, North Dakota. You're probably wondering what I'm holding in my hands today because it has to do with the next question for After the Mass. Father, what is Holy Week and what's this thing you talk about called the Holy Triduum? Good questions. Well, the Palms remind us of this Sunday. This Sunday we call Palm Sunday or Passion Sunday, because it's what about? It's about when Jesus' triumphant entry into Jerusalem. And the palms, remember in the gospel we read, what did the people do? They set the palms on the ground as Jesus came in riding on the donkey into Jerusalem. And what were people doing? They were cheering, Hosanna in the highest. They were cheering Jesus on as their king. But then we remember what happened. That cheering turned into jeering and spitting and swearing come Good Friday. So this Sunday marks the beginning of Holy Week. Everything changes on what day? Holy Thursday. What will happen in this church on Holy Thursday is the first day of the Holy Triduum. So remember, I have people ask me all the time, they say, well, Father, when I look at the calendar, it never adds up to be 40 days for Lent. But that's because most people count the Triduum as part of Lent. It's not. So Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Holy Saturday, those 3 days are called the Holy Triduum. They're not part of Lent. They're their very own season because they're kind of the shell, the center, the apex of Jesus' life. Because what happens on Holy Thursday? Jesus goes to begin his passion. At Holy Thursday, you will notice what happens in this church. We will have the washing of feet. Why? Because that's what Jesus did. And at the Last Supper, he washed the apostles' feet to remind them of what? If you want to be a leader, you have to be a servant. The greatest leader is the servant of all. And so Jesus taught them that. Remember how Peter got mad? No, Lord, you shouldn't be washing my feet. I should be washing yours. And then Jesus says, no, you must let this happen, Peter. You'll figure it out later. And then Peter did figure it out. And I think the rest of us are still trying to figure it out. To be leaders, we have to be servants. So at the Mass on Thursdays, we'll begin our Holy Triduum. What will take place? We'll have the Mass with the washing of feet. And we wash the feet of 12 men or boys because Jesus washed the feet of 12 men. Because what did he do with them then? That evening, he ordained them as his priests. And he gave them what? The power to confect the Eucharist. So what else took place at the Last Supper? For the first time, Jesus gave his precious body and blood. He changed the bread and wine into his own body and blood for the world to nourish us, that we might become like Jesus. So Holy Thursday is such a tremendous celebration, but it's also heartbreaking because at the end of the dinner, what happened? Remember, Judas Iscariot was going out to betray Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. And it's that evening after the supper that Jesus is arrested. So what do we do in the church? After the Holy Thursday celebration, the altar cloth, the candles, all of this will be removed out of the church. The tabernacle will be opened. The ciborium with the consecrated hosts with Jesus will be removed and placed in another tabernacle off-site. The doors will be left open. The candles will be removed. The Easter candle will be gone. The holy oils will be removed. The church will be stripped down. We will cover the crucifix. When you walk in the church, it will look like someone died. It will look like we're mourning. It will look like, yes, we're celebrating something terrible, that Jesus died. And so all day on Good Friday, there'll be no masses anywhere in the world. Just imagine that one day, nowhere on this planet will Mass be celebrated. Why? Because it's the day that Jesus died, at 3 o'clock on Friday. Another question that came up, April was asking me, Father, do you have any memories of your childhood about the Triduum? I says, one of the most beautiful memories of Good Friday that I continue to hold to this throughout my life is that my parents, from noon on Friday till 3 o'clock, we were not allowed to listen to the radio. We couldn't talk to each other as kids. We had to be quiet. We were allowed to read the Bible, especially the Gospels with the Passion account. We could do things to prepare for the next day, for Mass the next day. We could polish our shoes and do things like that. But we had to be quiet and still for 3 hours and think about Jesus. That he was carrying the cross, that first after the terrible whipping and the crowning with thorns and the carrying of the cross, and then finally at 3 o'clock after being crucified, that he breathed his last and died. And so for those 3 hours every year, and I try to preserve those 3 hours even now in my life, they're sacred hours, they're important hours. There's hours that, if they don't mean anything to us, then Sunday will mean even less. Because it was on Friday that Jesus died, and so Sunday becomes such a great day, because he rose from the dead. Our faith doesn't end in death. Jesus conquered sin, he conquered death, he rose from the dead. And so it's kind of a dramatic thing that we do. So on Friday, the church is empty, and then that evening at 7 o'clock, I hope everyone can join us, and we'll have our Good Friday service. Now, it's not a Mass, right? There's no Mass. But what will we do? We'll have the reading of the Passion. We'll have the special intentions. We will have the veneration of the cross. And that's really the big thing that day, right? We'll all come in and reverence the crucifix. And again, at the end of that celebration, we walk out in silence. You know, why silence? It's a sign of mourning, of looking forward to something else. You know, there's something ended here, and it opens up for new life, for something new to celebrate. And then when we come back into the church at nighttime, so it'll be 8:30 at night on Saturday, it'll be dark out, and the church will be all decorated. The tabernacle will be filled, all the candles will be lit when we come back in, and we will have the great celebration of the Easter Vigil. Now, I invite people to come to Easter Vigil, and let me tell you something about it. It's like the whole liturgical year celebrated in 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours. I love we can do it for 3 hours. I know most people stay home because they think that's too long, I'll fall asleep. It's fine. If you watch me during the Easter Vigil, sometimes I doze off. It is a lot. And the best thing about it is every year there's something new. There's always great graces that God gives you, because that time is filled with the celebration of what? It's like going through the Bible from Genesis to the end of the Bible, well, to the gospel anyhow, and the epistles. It's like the celebration of all the scriptures. It's a celebration of all the sacraments. That's when we have our baptism, confirmations, and First Holy Communions. It's the celebration of the whole year boiled into one celebration. And so it is really true that the Easter Vigil is the mother of all the liturgies. And so I always invite people to come. And I notice in my own life, the people who usually do come are those who are received into the church at Easter Vigil. But I tell people who are Catholics, if you've never been to the Easter Vigil, come. You won't regret it. It is such an incredible celebration. And I guarantee you, God will touch your heart in some incredible way. It happens every year. And it's nice to see a lot of the same people will come every year, and because they know God's got something special prepared. Anybody who's going to sit down and pray for 3 hours, let me tell you, you're not going to walk away unmoved. You're not going to walk away thinking that was a waste of time. There will be 3 hours you'll look forward to the next year. It'll be something you begin to yearn for in your life. So join us. If you can come that evening at 8:30 Saturday night for the Easter Vigil, and the whole Triduum. Each of those days are so grace-filled, and it's the culmination of our whole faith. It's everything that Lent is a preparation for. So what a great way to celebrate. So praise be Jesus Christ, now and forever, and thank you again for joining us for After the Mass. God bless you. Bye.